"Get behind me, Satan! Get behind me!" It's a good line, isn't it? Get behind me, Satan. I can almost picture Aunt Esther on Sanford and Son, swinging her purse and repeating it. Or for those of you who like to watch SNL, can't you imagine the church lady saying it? Well, comical as the phrase may seem, there is a biblical context. I see something rather deep going on here. Can you put yourself in Peter's shoes? You've just given advice. You've spoken without thinking it over. He is confronted with a difficult truth that in our sinfulness actually might serve not for God's purposes, but in conflict with God. It seems to me, however, that most of the time many of us struggle to look directly and unflinchingly at reality, especially when life really isn't all that pretty. In clergy world, I've known a great number of my colleagues who would rather cross the street than address conflict. Many of us will avoid and deny when life just becomes a little bit too difficult for us to deal with. So hearing Jesus say that things aren't going to end well, that just isn't in Peter's plan. That's not what he wants to hear. Jesus' task, however, is maintaining truth and not painting an illusion. Jesus knows where things are going. Again, not pretty. He knows that his enormous popularity with the masses is going to make him unpopular in the end with the authorities. He knows that his days of miracles and wisdom teaching are about to get really messy. And there have already been signs, and Jesus is just reading them. He refuses to let people on. The game is really serious here. The winner takes it all. The evil one has had a very long time as God of this world. He's had the authority, and at the cross he will lose that authority. For Jesus, now was not a time to sugarcoat anything. It was infinitely important to tell truth as to what will happen in the days ahead. And so he refused the tyranny of what we might call positive thinking and refused to offer hope that was not to be had. Schools of rabbinical followers and teachers were not a new thing, and maybe the disciples thought that this was the next new thing. Show up in a new town, be overrun by fans, follow a man who could heal the sick and cast out demons. Well, I guess it seems counterintuitive that he would suffer and die. For after all, they were doing so much good, helping so many people. They offered hope to people who had no hope. To imagine the end ending the way it did is unthinkable to Peter. And so Peter says, stop it. Stop it with the negative thinking. Get on with the miracles. That's what's bringing the crowds. Well, maybe you can identify with this. Sometimes it is better, though, to just speak truth and get it over with. I've always made it my policy with my senior warden that this kind of direct engagement of issues would happen often and quickly. Congregations will fade away when truth is not embraced in its fullness, or yet, even worse, it's replaced with platitudes or avoidance. If you want to get somewhere, the most direct way is the direct way. There's little prestige and very few accolades when you operate this way, but it's healthy. And in 2021, we still don't want to hear it quite yet. We still want to rebuke Jesus. We want to tell him that his version of things is dead wrong because we are told we want it on a glossy page, like Hollywood ready for print. But Jesus was not interested in that kind of Christianity. He wasn't interested in starting a personality cult. The Jews already had that in the scribes and the Pharisees. This was to be all about the kingdom, the already and not yet presence of God in and amidst the people. The unveiling of the plan of the Father, whom Jesus was following with absolute obedience. Now, some time ago, I saw a cartoon. It may have been a Gary Larson Far Side strip. I'm not exactly sure. But there's two lines, each filing up to a desk. One desk is labeled Beautiful Lies, and it has a whole trail of people that are standing in front of it. The other is labeled Difficult Truth, and there is one person standing in front of that desk looking rather puzzled. Well, multitudes even to this day are in the line to hear the beautiful lies, but there are very few who want to hear the difficult truth. Just like the disciples, are we setting our mind on divine things, or are we setting them on human ones? Are we evaluating things using the wrong framework? We still don't want to believe that the first will be last and the last will be first, because it's hard to believe. And you know, we worked hard to get our rank and our position in this world. We tried hard to be first, because we're taught in the playgrounds of life that winning is everything. Now, perhaps the most insidious part about beautiful lies is that they're the doorway for idolatry. When we make our Christian journey about what we can do under our own power, then it's not under the lordship of Jesus. The evil one loves for us to make idols, first of all, of ourselves. And when we have done that, when we have accomplished something, fail to give credit where credit is due. You know, we just want a Jesus who's more tolerant of our ambitions. And Our Lady sings the antidote to that. To might and powerful Christianity, light. She says that God has cast down the mighty from their thrones and has lifted up the lowly. He has filled the hungry with good things, and the rich he has sent empty away. Well, one of the greatest challenges of the gospel is that in Jesus we are called to do and become that which we most fear. We all want to be rich, but often the most fulfilled Christians are the poorest. Their perspectives are not clouded. We all want to be successful, but I've known many people who had seemingly successful lives and yet deep within were really pretty empty. What do you fear? What seems untouchable? Is this your growing moment to embrace that which you fear most? It's often in these moments that we find what truly gives power to the concept of the cross. The new life that it gives is that in abandoning everything that we think is so incredibly important, we find that God has things far more important for us. Today, what did you come here for? Did you come here to just simply see something that would affirm you, or beautiful lies? Or did you come to grow? That is the truth. Have you spent your time avoiding that difficult decision? Or have you become like Scarlett O'Hara in Gone with the Wind? I'll think about it tomorrow because tomorrow is another day. Well, Jesus won't have it. And he won't do it. He moves his chosen band on by being real. And that is the task that we are to have too during this season of Lent. To be real with ourselves, to look at the parts of our lives that may not necessarily be all that pretty, but realize that God is working in us and God is busy cleaning up the mess if we will simply go in the right line, if we simply will look for truth instead of the beautiful lies that are always taking us on the primrose path. So be real, and remember, Satan will get behind you. It's a useful phrase. Feel free to use it. Satan will get behind you. He has no other choice now. Because Jesus was real. Because Jesus was real with his disciples. And because we can be real, truly real in him, Satan has no power over us. Tell him to get behind you, and he must. So tell him to get off and move on.